Welcome to Morning Infusion with Dr. V. Have you ever wondered what it would be like to initially be defined by what society says about you and then decide that the most important words are the words that you say about you? Well, my name is Dr. Viola Pierce. I'm the owner and the CEO of VP Nursing and the Nurse Nurturer and the facilitators of Secret Suppers Worldwide with Dr. V, where our goal is to teach nurses to leverage the knowledge that they already know working from their computers around the world, making money and owning their own time. Our goal is to come to you each Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time to give you the fuel to crush your goals and show up exceptional on a daily basis. Know that one of the goals of Morning Infusion with Dr. V is to expose you to leaders that have overcome so that you know that the possibilities are endless. If you are watching on YouTube, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and leave a comment if you were ever told that you would not succeed. And remember to click the calendar link above if you want to create another stream of income and enroll in our 12-week course, VP Nursing Business Academy. Our special guest today is Angie Floyd. Angelique actually is her real name, her God-given, her government name. Angelique is a passionate, energetic woman of faith whose mission is to empower, encourage, and educate others through words and by example. She is a licensed evangelist and at Evangelic Fellowship Church of God in Christ. That's how you said that I should just not have tried that, right? Professionally, Angelique is a registered nurse employed by Wake County as a school-based public health nurse. She received a Bachelor's of Science in Nursing from the University of Delaware. She decided to further her education and is presently attending the University of North Carolina, Greensboro, where she will obtain her master's degree in public health with a concentration in community health education. On April 5th, 2021, coming up, Angelique will be presented with the John P. McGovern, MD, National Scholarship Award at the National Eta Sigma Gamma Award ceremony. Dedicated to community outreach, you will find her volunteering locally with the nonprofit organization Positive Direction for Youth and Family, Incorporated, Greensboro, North Carolina. Angelique's life's resolve is to uplift and positively impact the lives of others. Her favorite adage is, if I can help someone along the way, then my living shall not be in vain. I love it. I love it. I love it. So thank you, thank you, thank you for showing up this morning.
Definitely, thank you.
So now, what was your primary reasoning for becoming a nurse?
So this is a little bit of a funny story. I actually started undergrad with a biology major and a minor in chemistry because I wanted to be a pediatrician.
Hmm.
And we all knew I was going to be a pediatrician. And entering my second year in school, I realized as I wasn't passionate about science, I loved science, but I wasn't passionate. And I always say it's good to be connected to people that provide the right advice. So I had an awesome advisor who really sat down and talked to me about my goals and recommended nursing. He was like, with your passion for science, but you have that desire to want to help people. You want that hands-on approach. I think this would be a good fit. And so when I entered my first semester in nursing, that was it. That was what I was looking for, the science coupled with the hands-on approach of that touch, that heart. I was like, I'm going to be a nurse. So it's a running joke, the pediatrician that went to become a nurse who's now on a journey, maybe becoming a doctor in a couple of years. So
I love it.
whether
I
or not
love
I might have doctor behind my name.
But you know what? It's interesting that there's a lot of people who have that same drive. Like they start out that same way, like they want to be a physician, and then they
Mhm.
turn it into nursing because nursing is more hands-on, and because it is, that thing where you get to talk to your patients and hang out with your patients a lot. So you love it. So now, when you were first taught, you said that there was a patient that was special to you. What happened to her, and how did this affect you?
So I was still new in my nursing profession. I worked at a hospital that specialized in kidney and liver transplant. And
Hmm.
because I was so young, I was able to identify with the journey my patient was going through. Her one goal was to be able to graduate from high school. And with all the setbacks of receiving a transplant, going into failure, being having multiple admissions with sickness, I was just able to form that bond with her. I'm working night shift. I feel like that's when some of the structure is a little bit loose because all the all the OT, the P, physical therapy, OT done. Some of the doctors aren't as intense, and you can really interact with your families and bond with them. And that was my moment when I realized if I want to be an effective nurse, I can't just go by the route of doing the mechanics of nursing. I have to be in all with my heart because when you're nursing and people are sick and they're missing their family, sometimes you become that family link. They need to know they're being touched by somebody who cares and not somebody who's looking for a paycheck. And that was my one moment when I walked through that journey of being able to sit in her room and be that shoulder she could cry on when she had to delay her graduation yet again, when she didn't look like her photo pictures because she started losing hair, she was losing weight. And even going through that ugly process where she became angry and was trying to give up and becoming that support network of sometimes, you have your family saying just hang in there, but having somebody else who really doesn't have any connection to you, but sees that worth in you and saying, you're going to graduate, you're going to make it. And I realized at that moment, that was the nurse I wanted to be, that shoulder, that compassion, that friend, that cheerleader, that encourager that made a difference. So when she passed, I took a step back and did go into a different avenue of nursing because I needed time to recover. Because when you do give so much of yourself
Mm-hmm.
and pour out a lot, you do need to have that time to be able to refill or else you burn out. So
Mm-hmm.
that was my moment of nursing when I was like, I want to be an impact player. I want to touch lives and make a difference and just not be a nurse. I want to be the nurse they call. And families have to leave because Angie's a nurse. I'm okay because she loves my family member like I do.
I love it. I love it. And you said two key things because I remember first going into nursing and there was this kid that had juvenile diabetes. And the kid, and I just really, because you go through nursing school and you think about hypertension and then you think about diabetes. And for
Hmm.
me, I thought, well, it's just it's a disease process. We're going to throw some medicines at it and then they're going to be okay. But the reality is that this kid had already had a kidney transplant.
Hmm.
He was blind and
Hmm.
he was getting ready to have his leg amputated because of the diabetes because he was so brittle. And I
Hmm.
remember just really thinking, he is my age and
Yes.
he's going through so much, right? And so we
Yes.
were able to bond very much in the same way. And one of the
Hmm.
second things that you said is when people come into your fray, right? They
Yes.
come in and they're angry,
Yes.
understanding that anger hurt people, right?
Yes.
And that anger is never ever directed towards you,
Yes.
ever, because they don't know you, right?
Correct.
And understanding that helps you to deal with their anger in a much more effective and efficient way.
Yes.
So I'm super excited about the fact that you got that, right?
Yes.
Now, you talked about accepting labels that society put on you. Now, what labels are you referring to and how did they affect you?
So there was a time about 10 years ago, I was really wanting to pursue my next degree. However, I didn't know what I wanted that degree to be in. Even though I was a nurse, I knew I didn't want to get my master's in nursing. I I didn't necessarily know what it was, so then it was kind of that label of, well, if you don't know what you want to do, are you certain you're supposed to be going back to school? Then as time progressed, and the dream started to wither a little bit, but now you're getting older. Are you certain this is still for you? The label of as time progresses and you start losing that, I would say, touch with school, because as you become more of a professional, some of those skills you had as being a student, you don't use as much, because you're in a professional role. Can I even do this anymore? So that label of accepting maybe my moment has passed, maybe this isn't for me, and letting go of a dream and starting to settle and try to make a life and be content on where I am. Though you might not be happy, it's good because on the outside it looks good. You're making money. Your resume looks well. So be content, settle. And I was like, no.
That can't happen. But now tell me why you didn't want to go back for a master's in nursing.
I really, at the time, all my work had been at that time in the hospital. So
Uh-huh.
I didn't want to go the avenue of a nurse practitioner
Mhm.
or at administrative because I didn't want to lose that touch of being able to be that bedside nursing. Though I didn't want to do that forever, it's something about being in the room, being engaged with the patient. I didn't want to be in the office doing the paperwork. I didn't want to be a nurse practitioner because it was something. All I could say, there was something more tugging at me. I just didn't know what that more was, but I knew that being in a hospital was not my story.
Gotcha, gotcha, gotcha. And I think that so many people, what they do is they get into nursing and not just nursing, anything, and they get settled. And I've
Mhm.
always said that whenever you are comfortable, you are not growing, right?
Yes.
Be
Yes.
very clear on that. And
Yes.
so we get into it. And I was there for 25 years because I was very comfortable. I was
Yes.
very comfortable in my clinical care. I was very comfortable in my skill set. And then all of a sudden, I was like, you know what? This
Mhm.
is not going to lead me to where I need to be. And people don't tell you, people don't say to you, like, I didn't know that I needed to, how much money I needed to retire, right? I had no clue, right? And people don't necessarily tell you that. They're like, well, how much you, and they don't give you all the information that you need. But I know that I don't have enough money to retire and to leave money to my children. I know that
I
I want to live for
agree.
a long time. I ain't gonna die at 70. Okay. So if I'm gonna do that, then I've got to grow, right? I've got to grow at this point. So I love it. So now how were you able to get past what those in society were saying about you or what you were saying about you actually?
So that's where my faith comes in. I am a woman of faith.
Uh-huh.
And one thing I had confidence was the scripture in Psalms 37 and 23, the steps
Hmm.
of a good man are ordered by the Lord. And so, though I didn't know where my next step was, I believed that He was calling me to my next step. And I could either stay stuck and stagnant and not take that leap of faith, or I could believe God and say, stretch me, and I trust you and move forward. So prayer was the first answer. I also said you have to surround yourself with a strong support system. But when I say a strong support system, ones that speak words of life,
Hmm.
ones that mirror where you want to go.
Hmm.
So I have a sisterhood. There's four other women in my circle that are around my age. Two of them did get their masters in nursing. One went the biology route and she's becoming a nurse, and then another's looking to pursue school. And I say that because they became my mirror. If I want to go somewhere, I have to surround myself with other, for me, like-minded women that are going in the direction that I want to go in, because their words become an echo in my ear, and I need
Hmm.
to listen to people that are going somewhere. My other support was my mother and my grandmother. She was somebody who has been, I would say, my shero. I've seen her overcome challenges, but at the same time, she's always believed in me like no one else. Even when she didn't even see where I was going, she was like, Angie, I believe in you, because somehow it always works out. So I would say prayer and faith, having that strong network that speaks life and reflects where you want to go, and having just that core foundation of believing in your self-worth. Because I did have a dark period where I gave up and lost sight of who Angie was, because I started settling. And when I started settling, I started losing my fire and passion. And so my smile started to dwindle because I was no longer thriving. I was just doing something routine. But when I believed it was okay, I trust God. I'm thinking bigger. I'm going to become bigger. I'm going to just leap. The smile came back and He guided my step. And I haven't always seen the whole end of the picture, but He's always provided enough light for the next step I'm supposed to go to.
I think that there's value in what you said because one of the things that my mother used to say about me was she said, well, she still says it even to this day. She says, well, she is my miracle baby. And the story is that I was born, 17 years after all of the rest of her, they were stair steps. They were six stair steps. 17 years later came me because she had several miscarriages. And she was 40 years old when
Mhm.
she, over the age of 40, actually, when she had me, and they wanted her to abort me. And she was like, no, this is going to be my miracle baby. And because of that, I think that's one of the things that has really catapulted me to where,
Mhm.
I am now. And so I think it's valuable what you said about what your grandmother, how she spoke to you. And
Mhm.
then when you talked about, not really being able, because when we have a clubhouse room that Jocelyn, who introduced us, really, we have a clubhouse room on Saturday mornings where we talk about your big audacious goal, right?
Mhm.
And we talk about the big elephant and eating the
Mhm.
elephant one bite at a time, as opposed to trying to look at the big elephant and eating it, or not looking at the staircase, just looking at
Right.
one step at the time,
Yes,
right?
ma'am.
And
Yes,
making
ma'am.
that first step and getting to where you need to be. I love it. I love it. I love it. Now, you wanted to become a travel nurse. And what stopped
Yes.
you from traveling?
So
Our friend.
yeah, on my mother's side of the family, I'm the oldest grandchild, and I loved my grandparents. And so it wasn't that I wasn't released to travel. I just wasn't ready to leave them. And so now that I've lost both of my grandparents, when you're going through, looking at the what ifs, I can say I have no regrets because I was able to spend that time with them, to have them impart wisdom, to love on them, and to just share those moments that if I was on the road, I wouldn't have had those memories. So that was my greatest, I would say, reason for not traveling. And everybody would know that I was the grandbaby. Those were my loves, and I wasn't leaving them until until my grandmother said it's okay. I want you to be able to live a life with no regrets because I never want you to look back and have that moment of what if, but that moment, that window of opportunity is gone. She was like, while you still can, we are here for you. I want you to be who you were called to be and not be held back because you love us so much. So it was also her freeing answer that allowed me to have that confidence to take the next step, but not venture away too far. I always wanted to go somewhere where I could drive within a day and get to them if they needed me.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Now you took a leap of faith and you moved out of the state. Now,
Yes.
what did you move from? What did you move to? And why did you choose that state?
I'm originally from Delaware. So I moved from Delaware to North Carolina.
Mhm.
One reason I did do my research, I knew that I was going to have to be able to support myself, and I wanted to go somewhere where, for a nurse, I would be able to have an open opportunity of, a range of jobs I could choose from, whether clinical, whether hospital, whether public health. I didn't want to limit myself, and North Carolina is just filled with opportunity for growth, for expansion, and this is I knew about Duke Hospital. That's all I knew, Duke Hospital. So a couple weeks before I was turning 30, I went online and applied for 2 positions, and we set up my interview. And so it was during my 30th birthday. I interviewed. I knew within myself that I had both of those positions. So the next day, I went driving around. I um, located where I was going to my apartment. It was in a nice community. I was just waiting for HR to call me. So I interviewed like on
I
Tuesday.
love it.
Thursday, HR was calling me with an offer. And so I interviewed in June. I told them I could start in August. That was the plan. And I took all my life possessions, and I moved here with faith. That was really it. I didn't know anybody here. I didn't have a church home, and that was the second thing. I had to find a church. But I believed God. I interviewed. I knew I had a position. So I'm like, that same confidence that I went in knowing that I was going to have a job is the same confidence that helped navigate my path.
I love it. I love it. And and that faith is the real thing. Let me tell you something. You get, hey,
Yes,
you were like, I knew I
yes.
had a job, so I just went to look for the apartment. I know that's right.
Put
Put
the
it into
deposit down.
action. That's right. Now you mentioned that this was a journey to become your highest self.
Yes,
And we talk about self-actualization as it relates to Maslow's hierarchy, right? Your physiological is that base, and then you got to get up to self-actualization. What does this look like for you?
and when I was thinking just about my reflecting over my journey, I really can't give a full definition of what it is because I'm still in that process. But what I
Hmm.
do know is I'm on my way. I'm going through the chapters where I've had to shed that negative self image, that negative self talk. And the self talk could be just something as I can't do it. It's a light whisper, but it causes you to close doors or walk away from doors because you believe yourself. And sometimes we like to say, oh, it's the enemy of other people. But sometimes you're talking negative about yourself and you have started to absorb that. And so your actions are now reflecting what you believe. So I've gone through those chapters of shedding the low self-esteem, that negative self-talk. And now as I enter these new chapters, one thing as I'm becoming, I'm letting go of that fear of I can't do and starting to answer, why not? Maybe I can.
Hmm.
If I don't step out and be brave, then who? Because somebody has to do it. So why not me?
That's
Why
right.
not allow myself to be stretched and see where this open door opens up? Because it's really in those chaotic moments I learned who I am. Is because if it was all peaceful, they wouldn't be looking for a change. They wouldn't be looking for a leader. But it's in that chaos when they see your light, when they see the difference that you make, where you start to shine, because that's when you're needed. You're not needed when things are peaceful. You're needed when there's chaos, when there's no solution, because they're looking for an answer. So you walking up, you showing up, you are that answer. You can do it. So I had to speak those words. Yes, I can. I'm positioned. I'm equipped. I'm about to go forth.
I know that's right. I love that. And one of the things that is so valuable, the first thing you talked about is that negative self-talk, because what happens a lot of times, we'll have the negative self-talk. We will say things about ourselves and we won't allow other folks to say about us, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
so being very clear about that, and being watching your words, because I have been guilty of, and my coach had to really, really talk to me once, and she was like, I encourage you to watch your words, right? Because there's power of life and death in the words in which you say. And I said, well, okay, and so I had to watch my words. And then secondly, you talk about the answer to the solution to the problem, right? And we
Yes.
go in with a lot of negative, we can't do this, or I don't know what the solution is. When the reality is that you're the solution to the problem. You got to figure it out, right? We're
Yes.
nurses. We can figure out
You
anything.
figured it out.
That's right.
Yes.
Now, what is some advice that you would give someone that is looking to go into leadership for the first time?
There's a quote by President Roosevelt that I love, and it says, "Courage is not the absence of fear, but the ability to act in spite of." And that is my advice. When we step into that role of leadership, a lot of times we look at other mentors or leaders and we see their outer shell, that confidence, that they know what they're doing. Um, they're not showing their fear, their nerves, their even like their frustrations. They look put together. So we look at that outside package, and that's the same image we want to present. And we see within ourselves, I don't have it, I can't do it. However, courage is not having fear. It's moving forward in spite of. And
Mhm.
one thing I've also learned is from one of my mentors, sometimes we like to have everything put together to put on our best and best presentation because we feel that people value the outside content. But she was like, as long as the inside content is good, we have always have time to enhance the outside. And so that was my thing I'm learning as a leader. As long as I know the inside content is good, I can enhance the presentation. I can enhance my the outward things, but make sure that inside content is good. And that's where you have to believe you're equipped. You have the good stuff within you. Your inside content is good. So it takes time to grow as a leader. It takes levels of maturity. It takes seasons. It takes experiences. It takes conflict. And you don't walk into a new position having all the answers. So knowing that inside content is good, you can work on the outside. Take that step. You are a
Yeah,
leader.
I love it. But I was thinking about the law of the lid by John Maxwell. So John Maxwell has a book. It's called The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. And one of the laws is law number 2 is the law of the lid. And he said that whenever he would go into resorts, he said that
Mhm.
he interviewed this guy. So he would sit down and he would interview leaders who were amazing at what they did, right? And so he said that he interviewed this guy who revamped resorts, and he was very successful businessman. And he said, so what did you do every time that you would go into these resorts? And he said, one thing that I would do is I would train the frontline staff. He said, and the second thing that I would do, he said, is I would fire the CEO. And he said, what? And he was like, yes, I would fire the CEO. And he was like, well, why would you fire the CEO? And he said, because you are as only as good as your leadership. Everything rises and falls on leadership. So in order
Yes.
for you to enhance your team, you internally have to grow. But what
Yes.
happens is we get, not we, because I don't and you don't, obviously, right, get lax in that position of leadership, and there's
Mhm.
never a continual growing process. And
Yes.
when you don't have that continual growing process, then you're not able to make an effective, and if you're not able to be effective as a leader. So I love just what you said, that you have to move in spite of the fear. You have to continually grow, and you have to
Yes.
make sure that your team is taken care of. Now, what book have you read that has been really impactful for your life and career, and why was it so impactful?
This book, I would say, actually came at a season when I had given up my dream of going back to school, and it's by Bishop T.D. Jakes. Can you stand to be blessed?
Mm,
And when one of the chapters or the essence of the book, it talks about when you want to go to the next level, you have to be willing to fight for your dream. You have to be committed. You have to be persuaded against all odds, even when it looks like the dream has turned into a nightmare, that this is what I am supposed to be doing. And when I read that book, something just spoke to me, because when we look at people in positions of leadership or executing and doing their thing, we don't think of the cost. We don't think of the burdens that are associated sometimes with going to that next level and operating in excellence. And it was like, also, it was a wake up call. And or I can't say I want to be something and not have a game plan of how to get there. I can't say I want to become something and then not believe in myself. I can't say I'm gonna move to the next step and not believe in the vision and my worth and speak life to myself. So when I read that book, it made me become accountable to, one, to myself. It made me become accountable to my vision. It made me become accountable even to God, to say, if this is what I'm going to be and you have planned this for my life, then I need to believe wholehearted that I can do all things through Christ
That's
strengthens
true to
me.
me. You better say it again. Anything,
Anything,
anything.
anything.
Now, who is the person that has impacted your career and why were they so impactful?
I thought I I've had so many mentors, but when I look back, I will say the one person that's been most influential has been my grandfather, the late Bishop Joseph P. Cooper Sr. And the reason why isn't that it wasn't that he was a nurse, he was a visionary, one. He was a man of faith. He was a people person. He was somebody that loved big, and his smile had the ability to just change any situation. I mean, even now you hear people say, one smile from him, I knew everything was going to be all right. And so that was what it was for me. So I think why I say it impacted my career, I wanted to take the legacy that he left of being able to connect and reach people, and just by his presence being able to change the atmosphere in the room, being able to encourage somebody, being able to be a support. So I for me, it doesn't matter what I become. I want to make sure that I'm giving back and giving the best of me. So whether that's to be a personal cheerleader, whether that's to be that encourager, whether that's to be a mentor, whether it's to be a light, whether it's somebody that says, I see your worth and you're going to make it. I want my smile. I want my presence. I want my life to make a difference in somebody else. Otherwise, I haven't fulfilled my purpose. Because if I only grow big, but I haven't impacted anybody else, then I'm an empty package because I became self absorbed. But if I pour out and I'm able to touch lives just by being who I was called to be, created to be, then I know as I fulfill my mantra, if I can touch somebody, then my living has not been in vain. And that's what I want to be. When my journey's over and I look back, I've touched lives and I have lived a life of purpose, and know that what I've done has not been in vain.
I love it. I love it. I love it. You always want to leave people better than they came. When
Yes.
they leave, you want them to leave better than when they came. I love, love,
Yes.
love that. So thank you, thank you, thank you for
Thank
showing
you.
up. This has been amazing, amazing. We've had a good time.
We have.
So, my name is Dr. Viola Pierce, the owner and the CEO of VP Nursing and the Nurse Nurturer, and the facilitators of Secret Suppers Worldwide with Dr. V, where our goal is to teach nurses to leverage the knowledge that they already know, working from their computers around the world, making money and owning their own time. Our goal is to come to you each Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time to give you the fuel to crush your goals and to show up exceptional on a daily basis. Know that one of the goals of Morning Infusion with Dr. V is to expose you to leaders such as Angie that have overcome, so that you know that the possibilities are endless. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and leave a comment if you were ever told that you would not succeed. And remember to click the calendar link above. If you want to create another stream of income and enroll in our 12-week course, VP Nursing Business Academy, you guys have a phenomenal rest of your day. And I have some comments, but I can't get to them right now. We'll get to them later. I'll answer y'all later.